All right, KISS Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a KISS-related podcast by the board for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 169 of the KissFAQ podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill, and I am joined by the Scandinavian KISS Army. Carl Linnaeus, welcome back. And Wheeze, Daniel. It's always, every time I see you, it seems like it's been a long time since I saw you last. So, as always, good to see you and have you back on the show. And today there's just going to be the three of us while we go through a few varied topics. Some of the news happening this week is Gene Simmons' band Without Gene has just been added to the Indianapolis KISS Expo. 4x Fate have been added to the Indianapolis KISS Expo and will be performing. So there's a hope for a Frelly's Comet reunion, if only for one song. And Alan Belisha is advertising a second printing of his Tokyo 77 magazine, and there are a limited number of copies left. So find Alan on Facebook or email him at balish@gmail.com for information about ordering that reprint. The first edition of that was absolutely fantastic, full of great photographs from the Shinko Library in Japan. And while we're talking about second issues, Carl, you guys have just recently a second printing of the absolutely outstanding, I just got to sing the praises of that book again, wonderfully put together, incredible stories, pictures. It's in English as well, note for everyone. Just absolutely freaking stunning. So congratulations on that and getting a second printing. Give us the information about that, please.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We were a bit hesitant because we didn't. This is our first book that we're putting out, as a Gain Publishing. So the Gain Publishing house has recently started, so we had no idea how much it would sell actually. But the first printing sold out very quickly in a couple of months actually. So we did a second printing, and it was very tempting to do a whole new cover, just for myself because I'm a collector myself. But it could be a bit of backlash, if people were oh, it's a new cover, I have to have this too. But it is an expensive book, so we did the same cover. But there's a there's a new sticker on it, so you can tell the first edition has a yellow sticker, and the second edition has its more orangey sticker. So yeah, that's it. So yeah, I'm flabbergasted by the response we have got for the book. I'm very happy.
So you do realize that doesn't get you out of the doghouse with changing the cover because you've got a different colored sticker. There are some fans that now have to have it because it's got a different colored sticker. So there's no way, there is absolutely no way to win when it comes to changing up covers. And I'm one of the most guilty parties on changing covers. And I get lots of loving feedback on Amazon reviews that fans often feel that they've got to buy them just because we've changed the cover. No, you don't. But if you happen to, that's one definitely worth owning a couple of copies of. Now, you're going to be at the KISS Cruise 8 Gathering 8, are you, this year?
I'm not, but my co-author, Mats Vassfjord, who's the principal photographer of the book, he will be there. And you can get in touch with him. He actually has, he sells his photos. I think it's called KISS Classified Photos or something like that on Facebook, where you can get in touch with him. And he will be at the pre-party for the cruise, and selling books and talking to the guys who bought the KISS classified book and so forth. Yeah, so he will be there, but I'm not.
Oh, well, that's very cool. So the book will be there, is I guess the point, and one of the parties involved.
But yeah. Carl, will you be going to the Gene Simmons concerts in Stockholm then?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that more than any KISS show for the last 15 years or so. So yeah, I'm really psyched, and the set list is stunning. So
yeah, maybe I'll see you there. I'll be there as well.
Yeah, hopefully
that'll be cool.
When is the Gene show in comparison with the Vault?
The 2nd of May or something.
No, it's June 2nd.
June 2nd.
And first he was going to do the Vault the same day here in Stockholm. But he changed it to June 1st for the Vault, and then the show is at this vintage amusement park in Stockholm, where KISS actually performed in 1976. So So it's the first time that
oh,
you be at this amusement parks in '76.
what's the name of that? It's I can't think.
Gröna Lund.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I got there, but you said it correctly, and I did, so I butchered it. So, you know,
I guess
when it comes
Carl
to
would say it differently. He's from the West Coast, so it sounds kind of crazy when he says Gröna Lund, I think.
Carl, when it comes to seeing Gene Simmons live in concert, I mean, I'm sure you saw the most recent set list that was posted. He absolutely knocked it out of the park in terms of some of the stuff that he brought into the set. What are the sorts of songs, when it comes to Gene Simmons, that you're most looking forward to seeing that band perform live?
Well, practically, you know, all the songs that Kiss never had performed before. You know, She's a European. I'm really looking forward to that. You know, I think it was a single from the Unmasked album, but they never performed it live. So, I mean, yeah, just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. And of course, Got Love for Sale is we do that for quite a number of shows. But you know, I've never heard Got Love for Sale in a live environment. So, yeah, it will be totally cool.
And I just want to again say to Gene Simmons, film it, release it. Come on, film several of these shows and expand your set list. Just make sure you guys are all wearing the same stuff, and give us a Gene Simmons Band DVD. I want it. Here, take my money, Gene. Money. So, you know.
Money. Yeah, because Paul he just did 2 obscure tracks when he did the Live to Win tour. He did A Million to One and Magic Touch, which was cool. But I mean, the Gene set list is stunning. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's get into a couple of different topics today, because Daniel had come up with a fantastic, what is it, Sweden rock magazine that had some work that you'd done previously. So, Daniel, tell me about that magazine and what we're going to just start out this conversation with Carl about.
I guess Carl, he's written a lot of good articles for this magazine, Sweden Rock Magazine. And as you can see, Kiss is often featured in this magazine. Lengthy articles, and most of the time it's Carl, it's you that write these articles. And I don't know, you haven't released the first book in English, have you? The one in the background there.
No, I haven't not yet, but perhaps someday we'll see.
Yeah, so in that book and also in this magazine you have a lot of interesting information about, for example, Steve Cornell and the early days in Wicked Lester. Yeah. I just thought that we could start off by talking a little bit about Carl's interviews with Steve Cornell from Wicked Lester, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, because the Wicked Lester story is quite fascinating, and I did when I did this book. This is a hardcover edition, and this is not available anymore. It's available in paperback. It's in Swedish though, but as we said, perhaps someday it will be in English. The thing is, I really dug deep into the early years of the very early months of Kiss and the Wicked Lester story, of course, and I got to interview Lou Lynette, who was Wicked Lester's manager, and he was also Kiss' first manager for a couple of months for the first year, basically, before Bill O'Coin came on board in August of 1973. So Lou was great. I mean, I think you could find those interviews on my YouTube channel. I think I put the entire Lou Lynette interview up there, but. The funny thing is, I asked him, tell me about what do you remember about, how did you get involved with Gene and Paul? And I got a 40-minute answer from him. And so he was very talkative, great interview. And then I could, get more into the details and stuff. And also Steve Cornell, I mean, of course, his resume isn't as good as it was, I interviewed him in 2012 because this book first came out in 2013, 5 years ago, and much has happened since then, which we will not go into detail about. But Steve was a bit curious person, a bit strange person back then.
Obviously.
But it was very cool because I got his contact information from a friend of mine called Alex Bergdahl, who had been in touch with him before. And I mean, it took like 6 months to get Steve, comfortable.
It only took you 6 months. I tried for 9 years. Jesus.
Yeah, but I think telling him it was for a cover feature for Sweden Rock magazine. I did that feature on Gene, and I wanted to talk to his childhood friend, who was of course Stephen Cornell. So I think that made him warm up to it a bit. But yeah, so the thing is, he only did interviews for a short window of time. It wasn't that many interviews he did back 2012, 2013. So I'm very happy that I got to spend an hour on the phone with him, where I could, pick his brain. But the thing is, it was a lot of emailing back and forth where I really picked his brain on obscure details. So the whole prologue to the book is, I wrote kind of in a fictional way, to make it sound like a novel or something like that, where I used all the details that Steve had given me, because he had a photographic memory, actually, because it was in his apartment that Gene and Paul met for the first time. They had been in touch, with the phone previous to that, Gene and Paul, but it was the first time they met in the late summer of 1970. And so I asked him, tell me about the house that you had your apartment in. Yeah, it was the old La Joanne Hotel. So it had this big lounge when you walked in that used to be the hotel reception. It was a big, window in the ceiling. And my apartment was number 2L, and the apartment was very narrow, and I painted all walls glassy black, shiny black. And I had this bed in the room. The mattress I had put up on 2 Marshall stacks. And beneath that, I had an Asian rug where I used to smoke pot with my friends. And so I could paint this whole picture of Gene and Paul meeting for the first time using all these great details. So it was great. It was up in Washington Heights on Manhattan. And my friend Alex Berto, you can go to Facebook, Alex Room Service, and he actually was to that apartment, to that house last week, actually.
I just saw that up on Facebook the other day. I was like, that's awesome. I mean, when you start really digging into the sites in New York City to go and see, I've never heard of anyone digging up that address and saying, I'm going to go where Paul Stanley met Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, it is. And I used some other sources as well for this book. It's not all my interviews, but there's a legendary Swedish journalist called Anders Tegner who wrote for the OK magazine in the 80s. And I got all his tapes. He still had all his original interview tapes that he sent me in a big box. And I got to listen to all those interviews. And one was made with Gene at the hotel when they played here on the Lick It Up tour in 1983. And Anders asked Gene all about Wicked Lester. And, back then it was just a 13-year-old gap. It's not like nowadays. Gene doesn't remember anything. But back then he said something very interesting, which I believe is true because it was just 13 years after the fact. And it was about the name, and I have not heard this anywhere else. But apparently, the house where Wicked Lester rehearsed at in Chinatown, it was also a furniture company called Wicker Furnitures, and the sign on the wall was so old, so the R had became a bit fuzzy, so it looked like Wicked, and Paul said Wicked. That sounds like a good band name. And then Gene came up with the Lester character after that. And I asked Steve about this, but he didn't remember that sign, unfortunately. But I believe it's true anyway. But he said that one day Gene came to him, Steve, and said, "I got it, Wicked Lester." And Steve said, "What does that mean?" And Gene said, "Well, it's this mischievous kid called Lester," and he was very proud of the name. So. Yeah, that's the story of the name, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting story about how the name came about because it's such an eclectic name. It's odd. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything, and yet it does kind of. I guess now that you hear that, about a possible source for the name, um, it kind of makes sense with the music, with how eclectic it was and how strange the combination of all four of those, or pardon me, five of the members of that band were in terms of their different looks. So, hey, it makes sense. And now when you look at that Laughing Dogs album, the cover that was not used for the Lester album, Lester does look mischievous, that's for sure.
He does, and yeah, speaking of names, Lou Lynette told me about the origin of the Kiss name. The story is that they were driving around and Peter had his Lips band and so forth, and that's why they came up with the Kiss idea. But Lou told me a more boring story, but a bit more interesting story. There were a four-piece. Ace was in the band, and they had no name. And he told me that they were sitting around the rehearsal room at 10 East 23rd Street, and we're trying to come up with names. And he said that someone suggested hugs or kisses. and according to Lou, it was Paul who said, how about make it in a singular? How about kiss? And everyone went, yeah, that's fine. And that's also a story that I believe I have not heard, told that many times before.
I've never heard that. I've only ever heard the version that comes in the car, and what about fuck or albatross or stuff like that, and
yeah.
Hey, but that someone like Lou Lynette was a heck of a lot closer to it than, say, a story 15 years on from Simmons or Stanley about how the band's name comes up. Getting to Stephen Coronel, obviously, I still think there's a dedicated book to be written on Wicked Lester, because I think the period of 71 leading, it would end right at the first Kiss show, right as they transition from Wicked Lester into Kiss properly, with Gene's long, held story that he booked that first Kiss show as Wicked Lester. Whether or not that's true or not is debatable. But I still think that whole period, with all the people that were involved, that were around, would still make a very good book. And Stephen Coronel's story, he was there. He was friends with Gene. What did he recall about meeting Gene and how that kind of friendship germinated? Because they were in quite a few bands together, weren't they?
Yeah, they were teenagers, I think, or adolescents when they first met. Well, Steve told me a couple of funny stories. We spoke about Gene's tongue, and Steve told me that Gene used to do all sort of crazy stuff with his face. Like he had big ears already back then, so we could actually take the tip of his ear and stick it into the hole of his ear, so it would pop out, and it would show off his tongue and all those kind of stuff that he thought was funny with his face. And it told me another interesting story about. They were doing, I think it was a Barbara Ann by the Beach Boys in one of their bands, and Steve told Gene, "Oh, you were quite out of key there," and Gene got so offended that he slapped Steve over the face, and so he got a blood from his lip, and Gene was very upset about this. So he told me all of those very detailed stories, which was great fun. Yeah.
And I'm also curious that when you were working to get that interview with Steve, did you have to do quite a few calls with him before you actually got to interview him, or did you just manage to trade emails and set it up and then go straight in and do a interview with him?
It was like 20 or 30 emails before we could actually agree to make a call. So yeah, so he had to know about my intents, and that I was very interesting in talking to him. So yeah.
Yeah, obviously, I'm letting a little bit of my bitterness seep in right now because I never did get to interview him. I spent hours on the phone with him.
You did?
Yeah, talking and getting a feel for one another and how we were going to do, the kind of the angle that I was aiming for. But I can't use any of that because it's all off the record, which Just freaking kills me. He did have some. Did he tell you any interesting stories? And I have to use my stuff that I can't talk about to see
Sure.
if he talked to you about it. Did he talk about driving to upstate New York with Gene and any exciting things that ever happened during those trips, or playing with Gene in the Catskills, or in those early bands before Wicked Lester?
I don't know if I got it mixed up with Paul's book here, because he speaks about that in his book. I don't actually remember. No, I think you have something that I didn't get here, Julian.
Oh
To be
dear,
honest.
and then I can't. Sorry, just pouring another cup of tea. And then I can't even go into the details. So sorry, dear listeners, for even bringing that up. Yeah, but what about stories about songwriting with Gene? Did he mention? I wonder if I'm digging myself a hole here, but there you go.
Yeah, well, of course, I asked him all about Little Lady and Going Blind and She. Yeah, he talked about writing She. He talked about the guitar that he wrote it on and all those details. And I think it was Steve who said that. Yeah, first, Gene sang She's no good, and Steve wanted to change it to Steve, She's so good, and so forth. But actually, I don't recall that much, because it was 5 years since I wrote this book. So I don't recall that, actually. No.
Yeah,
And you also, I remember Carl wrote in, I think it was in the book or in the one of the articles, that Stephen wasn't really satisfied with the lyrics that Gene came up with. He talked about she walked by moonlight, and Stephen didn't really understand, well, what the hell are you talking about? But
Yeah.
and then Gene explained, like I'm seeing this vision of a girl, and something like that. I remember you wrote something like that.
Yeah, I got it from some sort of movie about the Indians, I think.
Yeah, that was it.
Right. Yeah. So that's
It's
why.
so Gene envisioned a movie that he'd seen way back in the day, or a movie that he wanted to see. He's a horror buff, so
Yeah.
But Steven did.
Yeah, he didn't get it, but
No.
Gene is still around for a reason, and Steve's not. So Gene actually had a point there with his lyrics.
Yeah.
But yeah, too bad, Julian. You let the cat out of the bag now.
Yep.
There are some cool stories there. I mean, you've touched on it with She, and I think that comes back to like a Pocahontas type, an Indian chief. I know I've read that elsewhere, so talking about that isn't going to be unacceptable in terms of stuff that's previously said off the record. But an Indian chief's daughter in the moonlight, and that's kind of the whole imagery that Gene was thinking behind that song. I mean, are you doing the vault experience or getting a vault?
Well, I am a journalist for Scandinavia's biggest rock magazine, and we'll just leave it there.
Okay, so there.
But I hope I will be present in somewhere. Yes.
Yeah, because now that we've had the opportunity to listen to Little Lady, I must say that was one of the absolutely outstanding tracks on the whole of the vault for me personally. Getting to listen to any of those, I think there were 4 of the 1970 demos on the vault, and Put On Your Slippers, Nancy, which was a Revis in the Eye, and I can't remember the other one, but just in terms of going back to Gene's prehistory with Stephen, and I think Brooke Ostrander was also a big part. Did you ever interview Brooke as part of that book, or before he passed away?
No, unfortunately not. I didn't. No.
No, I mean, that's a shame as well. That was one I was working on as well, but obviously ain't going to happen now. So I think we're only going to be left. I mean, what are the kind of the interesting things that you still want to discover about Wicked Lester? We're coming up to an important milestone in terms of copyright, that a lot of that material is going to become public domain if KISS and or Universal don't release it. So I would say that there's an opportunity for someone to be knocking out a 4,000-word essay about Wicked Lester that really goes into the history of the band for that release. I mean, what are the stuff that you want to find out that still kind of bugs you as a journalist, as a KISS fan, as a historian?
Well, the Holy Grail is, of course, the rainbow tape of the live show, which allegedly exists.
Does exist?
Come again?
It does exist.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
there is no allegedly. It does, and Gene has it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I heard that Brooke had it is in his cup drawer or something like that before he died. I don't know, but yeah, cool. I have not heard that yet, so that's one of the prized possessions. Still to be able to listen to that tape. Perhaps you have heard it. I don't know, Julian.
No.
But
That's my one remaining holy grail as well, for that matter. To hear the earliest recordings of that, and maybe some of the unreleased, Peter Criss studio stuff from, But we're not talking about Peter today.
Yeah. But I think I went into depth with all stuff Wicked Lester from my book, and well. Speaking about the music, of course, Kiss did remaster the whole album back in 2001, and they only put out "Keep Me Waiting" for the box set, which sounds killer, and the whole tape sounds killer. It sounds really fresh, when you don't have to listen to it at a different speed or muffled through a lot of cassette tape recorders. So I hope that will be made public someday. That remasters from 2001.
Yeah, that's something that I want. Obviously, we've all heard the full remastered album, which is absolutely stunning. I mean, if you think about the quality of that stuff on the Kiss box set from 2001, if you haven't heard it, it's out there. But I would love to purchase. And obviously, I joked with Gene when I bought the vinyl. Said I get to pay you for all the music I've already listened to for decades. But the same applies to Wicked Lester for me. I would love to have the original version, and that's the Cornell demos, followed by the '76 remaster, which I already have a transfer from the Real Love, but I would like the full studio blown, properly mastered version of that, and then the 2001 remaster in a digipack with that live rainbow tape and a nice essay, and the who was it that designed the logo? Because that only surfaced a few years ago. That was it. Michael Doré actually did the logo for Wicked Lester in 1971. That never. He was just doing a presentation about his artwork, and had this in his portfolio. I think it was after he came back into the fold with Sonic Boom. It kind of jogged his mind that he had also done other work with Gene and Paul before Casablanca. So that, get that logo and use it on the artwork that was used for Laughing Dogs. And to me, that would be really fun. Worth $9.99. That's $9.99, Gene, not $999, and it doesn't need to be hand delivered. But that's kind of what I would like. Daniel, would you go for that product?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's so many opportunities if they just, listen to the fans. Sometimes I feel like Kiss miss a lot of opportunities, and they go out and do their own ideas. For example, I remember, that book a few years ago, the big one, the monster book.
Yeah.
That's like a really bad idea from Kiss. Instead of listening to the fans, hello, we want some music. And I think most Kiss fans want music or remaster music or something new in that area. And no one wants a big book that you can't even read almost because it's so big. So I think they should listen a little bit more to the fans. But I guess, Carl, you've seen that book, haven't you?
Yeah.
The big one, yeah.
I met Gene and he showed it to me and he said, pick it up.
Yeah.
It's heavy, Gene. I can't. It's too big.
It's all big. He said that to Julian as well when he got his Walt. Pick it up.
Yeah. Video of
Gene,
I mean, that monster book. I mean, what is the point of a book that you can't take into the toilet with you?
It's big.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to give it to Gene and Kiss because they're still going where no band has gone before, with the monster book and the vault and everything. So, but Yeah, I was thinking about if you go back to Wiki Lester a bit, and people I wish to talk to make the definitive Wiki Lester story. I don't know if Don Ellis is he still alive, the Epic executive?
Oh God,
Because he would be interesting to talk to, because there's one interesting thing that Lou Lynette told me. Lou, he was friends with Ron Johnson. That's how he got involved with Kiss, and he was also friend with Don Ellis. And Lou told me that one thing that he never understood about this project was, when they had the finished album, Lou, Ron Johnson, and Gene and Paul went over to Don Ellis' office, and they played the reel-to-reel tape for Don at his office, and he listened to the whole thing through, and he said, "I hate it. I don't want to release it." And as Lou said, how could he suddenly hate an album that it was the same songs that he signed the band for? So he had heard all the tracks, and that's why that is why he signed the band. And then suddenly he decided he hated it and he didn't want to release it. And he had given a hefty advance of $20,000, according to Lou, to the band. And Lou managed to fix it so they didn't have to pay back the money to Epic Records after that, which is a big feat in the music business. But Lou said he never understood why he suddenly hated it and would release it after the fact that he signed the band. After listening to all those tracks. So yeah, that's an enigma, I have to say.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those mysteries in music mysteries that why, the what, and again, there's so many things to still be answered about the whole Wicked Lester picture. I want to talk just quickly before we get into the actual topic for today. Who are some of your favorite interviews that you've conducted over the years? Not just talking about this very early stuff that for some people will love, others will be like irrelevant to me. But who have you enjoyed the most throughout your time as a KISS fan interviewing?
Wow, that's I have a list here of all the people interviewed for the book, and I have to check it first. Well, Peter Criss. I've spoken to Gene, Paul, and Ace probably a dozen of times at least. But I only talked to Peter once. But I got 1 hour with Peter when he was releasing his book, and he was very open and very easy and very lovable, and a very fun chat to have. So I would say Peter from the KISS guys, but. Yeah, I'm looking through the list here, and Dennis Voloch, of course, he's quite a storyteller.
Yeah, that's not an interview. That's pure entertainment. Talking with Dennis.
Yeah, it is, and I think I spoke to him for several hours. Spread over 3 different interviews, and yeah, he's the most fun guy to talk to. Actually, he don't hold back, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, there's so many people I still want to interview. Peter Criss, I would still love to, talk with. Every time I've spoken with him, it's been brief and he's been awesome. I just wonder if he would still be awesome, say, 5 hours into that interview with me.
Yeah.
But I would like to hear the worst interview as well, if you can tell that. I don't know. But one that really didn't go the way you wanted to, that's always fun to hear. But I don't know if you want to tell us about.
Yeah,
but if you have an interview that went sideways,
Well, first off, I must say, when I look at this list of guys I interviewed about KISS, several of those guys, have passed since I talked to them. I mean, Kenny Kerner passed, Dick Wagner passed. Who else? Bill O'Coin passed. So, and Mick Campese, he's passed shortly after I talked to him for this book. So I'm very happy that I actually got to talk to those guys. But the worst interview, Ron Nevison was a bit difficult to get a hold of. It was also 6 months of emailing, and then he said, before we want to print with the book. Okay, but only an email interview, and email interviews always sucks. But I got some answers from him. So, and there are some very cocky guys in history. I don't know if I should mention the names because they're still alive, but
would be fun.
I don't know if that's worse than naming them. Saying I don't know if I should name them. It's while they're still alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You know, there are always in this game when you do talk to people, there are some tough ones. There are some interviews that start off tough, but once you get into them, people loosen up. I mean, it really is a simple thing that they don't know what they're going to get out of talking with you. Usually, you haven't done a lot of pre-work, so you know.
Otherwise, I've always enjoyed Carl's way of writing an article. It's like he's meeting the person, and then it's kind of hesitant in the beginning, and then he asks the right questions, and he makes the person open up, and then he get to the details. So I think that's great. You're good at interviewing, it seems, because.
Thank you.
For example, the Gene Simmons interview you did a couple of years back, when he's shooting. I think he's using cookies and shooting them at something, and you make him open up, and just because you have the knowledge that you have, it's so fun to read a KISS interview with a journalist that know the subject. You know, most of the time you have a journalist that asks the same old questions. You know. But with Carl, it's so different. Even I, as a lifelong KISS fan, always get something from his interviews, and I always, you know, when you get the Sweden Rock magazine, you look, Carl Linnaeus, has he written anything about KISS? Yes, and then you go to that.
Too kind.
That's true. That's true. I think that goes for all KISS fans in Sweden, because it's so good to have a real KISS fan in the industry, so to speak, you know, someone who writes KISS materials, KISS interviews, and know the stuff, because most of the time it's just the same old questions. So I've really gotten a kick out of your interviews through the years.
Thank you. Yeah. And for that magazine that you held up earlier, we actually should. Gene was showing me how he was playing marbles when he was growing up in Israel. And that's also that story is actually printed in KISS Classified too, and they used cookies to shoot marbles. So when we sat there in London doing the interview to show me, so it was very laid back interview, and then it's easier to talk to him. And also I remember I asked him about how did you get the nickname Buggy at school.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he'd been asked about that nickname for quite some time. So that also, made him realize that I was someone who actually knew him. So he could, loosen up a bit. But also for this article, this came out last year. I did an interview with all 4 members, prior to the tour last year, and it's quite fun because, of course, since I know so much about KISS, I want to know about stuff that I don't know. And I remember one topic 1 year ago was, Eric Singer's hair, because suddenly it looked, very strange that he had some sort of dead animal on his head there for a while. So I asked him about this because, he apparently he's not balding or so. So I had to ask him about that wig, and I don't remember how I phrased the question.
How do you broach the subject? It's hard.
I just threw it out there. I think towards the end of the interview, and he stopped. He paused, and he became quiet for a couple of seconds and said, "I don't think that's a topic for an interview. It's like me asking your mother what her favorite sex position is," and he, made a big deal about it. So I never got a straight answer about him, but the answer about him asking me about my mother's sex positions was so funny that I put it in the magazine. Sorry, Eric.
Yeah, of course.
Eric, he's a ton of entertainment. All right, let's get into one of the things that we did, and one of the other things that we wanted to talk about. And Daniel, this is all your fault.
Yeah.
Your
Well, the thing we're going to discuss now is, KISS lyrics, and a lot has been said about KISS lyrics. Not so positive at times, but I guess without all these cheesy KISS lyrics, there wouldn't be any KISS. I know there are podcasts that. Have you listened to Pot of Thunder?
Yep.
Yeah, they dissect the KISS lyrics, and they always come to the conclusion that, well, this lyric is about Gene Simmons, his thing down there, and that's a lot of KISS.
Daniel,
Yeah,
it has a name. I think it's called his schmeckle.
Okay, that sounds kind of Jewish, but I don't know what that is. There's other KISS lyrics than the Gene Simmons sex lyrics, and I'm hoping to hear 10 good choices from you guys, and we'll see where we will end up. Yeah,
there are the Paul Stanley sex lyrics too. Don't forget.
Yeah.
Love's like a muscle, and you make me want to flex.
Thanks for taking one of my picks right there.
We Facebooked a little bit, me and Carl, and guessed each other's KISS lyrics, and of course, the X and sex came up, and put the log in the fireplace, and all. We have a lot of
Lick
these.
my candy cane.
But can we actually find 10 good songs, 10 good lyrics in KISStory? I hope we can, and we'll start with number 10. And Julian, you're the first one.
Oh, okay. This life makes fools of wise men, thieves, and kings.
Oh my! Which one is that? Once again, I don't recognize it. Is it The Elder?
No,
it's close to that. Carnival of Souls, Seduction of the Innocent.
Yeah,
Mr. Simmons.
Yeah.
There was just something about the lyrics in that particular song, and a lot of the Gene songs on that album actually do go into different sorts of places like that, which is very, very zen, in the sense that wise men, thieves, kings, everyone's going the same place. So I like that one.
Are you sure it's a Seduction of the Innocent? Because I got it printed out here too. And I don't have that words in my lyric.
I might have been on I Confess. I don't remember.
I think so.
It's good to see that you put in the effort, Julian. That's good. Yeah. Okay, Carl. Number 10.
Yeah, man. Well, I don't have it in order, but I can also say a Seduction of the Innocent is it's very. Of course, Gene started to write lyrics with Unholy about more serious stuff about than just about his cock, of course. But of all those lyrics, I enjoy all his lyrics from Carnival of Souls. But Seduction of the Innocent it's actually my favorite. With it's very poetic in a very unlike Gene way. With he always wears his Bible belt, the collar on his head. It's like a noose around his neck. Say it, friend, if you had to do it all over again, would you know the trickery that is praying, and all those kind of anti-religion stuff.
It was like that.
Yeah, because the Seduction of the Innocent in my mind is the most poetic lyric he ever wrote. Yeah.
Yeah, and I absolutely screwed up on mine because my number 10 it's a long way down. Duh. The one I hadn't put the title down yet next to my my choice, and the one above it is Seduction. So a complete brain fart there. I do apologize, but that is Paul Stanley's long way down.
We need to pretend at least that we have put them in order to make it exciting.
Sure.
So my number 10 is let's see. I'll start in the correct order here now. My number 10 is actually. There's a word in German called Vorfreude, and it means Freude is like happiness, and for is before. So before you're going to some place, or you know, when you go on a vacation, you're longing for the vacation. You're thinking it will be all, you will have a great time and everything will be perfect. And then when you actually end up in the place where you're on a vacation, it's not quite as good as you thought. And that's Vorfreude, the feeling before you go somewhere. There's not a good word in Swedish. I don't know if there's one in English, but there's a song in the KISS catalog that I kind of think of this Vorfreude word when I hear that one. And that's Detroit Rock City, you know. I feel uptight on a Saturday night. 9 o'clock, the radio is the only light. I hear my song, you know, you're feeling that you got this feeling, and you want to go out and have a good time. And unfortunately, things go bad and doesn't end up the way he wants to, the guy in the song. But you know, you got the feeling in the beginning of the song. He dies at the end, but you know, going to a place, longing for something, and I think Detroit Rock City is a perfect song for that.
Nice.
Julian.
All right, so now I am actually in Seduction of the Innocent, and Carl's already mentioned that. My number 9 pick, the Padre looks well fed, remember what the good book said, and the vultures circle overhead. Yep. I just liked his, for the same reasons that you did. You know, it was kind of his commentary. And what he was kind of saying. And there are some songs like that with lyrics, obviously leftovers that he'd put in a hat that show up on the vault, where with very similar themic lines that I like just as much as Seduction for exactly the same reason.
Yeah, absolutely, me too. And my number 9 actually, in some ways, sticks with Daniel's pick of Detroit Rock City, because I think there only has been there only been 2 songs in Kiss' career that actually has this kind of storytelling vibe, you know, that actually tells a story from
Hide Your Heart,
and the second is Hide Your Heart, exactly. Yeah. And that's my number 9. That really tells a story. And well, I just want to say about that song, of course, it's a very clever lyric and it's very, you know, dramatic, just like Detroit Rock City, but it was written in 1987 for the Crazy Nights album, and it was written with Desmond Child, who I believe his top contribution to Paul's song was lyrical, I believe, and it's very easy to, you know, think about Living on a Prayer and Hide Your Heart, which was written, you know, around the same time. I believe Hide Your Heart was written after Living on a Prayer. Living on a Prayer also tells this story about, you know, a couple and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I think Hide Your Heart owns a lot to Living on a Prayer, actually. And it's a great lyric.
Yeah, without being a terrible copy of Living on a Prayer. It's very much its own story. Even if it was inspired by telling a story in a similar kind of manner, I say Paul completely went with the target and made something, you know, very much legitimate. So it's not just a cheap copy of Living.
No, of course not. But it has that storytelling.
It's some of the very best storytelling in a Kiss song. So you know, kudos to Paul and Desmond on that. Daniel.
Yeah, it's just terrible. Thinking about Ron Nevison, that he chose to put Bang Bang You on the record and left off one of Kiss's greatest tunes that was never released on an album. And I'm always thinking about Sword and Stone when I'm thinking about Ron Nevison. How the hell could he put that off the album?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's a shame. That's one of my favorite songs from the 80s, actually, but you never get it in crisp condition, you know. Well, we're at number 9, and I'm
number 8, I believe.
Number 8? No. No,
he still has his number 9 pick. I'm on number 8. So.
Yeah, I'm
okay.
number 8. I'm on number 9. And I'm thinking about something that's classic to Kiss, and the thing I always liked when I was a kid, you know, 10, 11 years old, was these kind of self-empowering songs. And when I was a kid, there was an album called Asylum released. I know Julian likes this as well. And it seems to have grown with the KISS community over the last few years. Actually, I see a lot of positive comments about Asylum. And my favorite song of that album is King of the Mountain. I think it's such a great song. And the lyrics, I'm going to climb the mountain. I'm going to hit the top. I want to go where nobody's ever been. I'm never going to stop. I'm going to rain. I'm going to shine. I mean, it's perfect when you're a kid and you feel like, I want to be better than all the rest of these guys. Then you go and listen to King of the Mountain, and that's just a great lyric. A great song.
The Paul Stanley, philosophy: live to win, King of the Mountain.
Yeah.
There is a very much a theme of how he approaches his life that is just recurrent in history. All right, my number 8 pick. Just pretend I'm only a friend and disappear from sight. One day you're gonna be lonely, wishing I was by your side.
Oh my, this is
1,000,000 to 1.
Unmasked, isn't it?
1,000,000 to 1.
Yeah, only pretend. Once again, read it once again. Let's see if we can.
Just pretend I'm only a friend and disappear from sight. One day you're gonna be lonely, wishing I was by your side. Yeah, Carl got it.
Wishing I was by your side.
And saying it non-rhythmically is just making it impossible for you to figure out.
Nowhere to run.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, again, another very kind of autobiographical song because of its inspiration, but it's kind of the pain and bitterness that I love in this. It's like, you left me.
Yeah, it has the same vibe as 1,000,000 to 1, the bitterness and the revenge thinking. So that was why I was thinking 1,000,000 to 1.
It's a bit more vengeful in that you've hurt me. 1,000,000 to 1 has a similar sort of feeling, but it's more melancholy. That it's a sadder kind of. They're twin songs for me. But nowhere to run. Absolutely love that.
I hear that now. I hear that now that they're twin songs lyrically. 1,000,000 to 1. One day you're gonna be lonely, wishing I was by your side. It was nowhere to run. Sorry, I got them all mixed up.
Oh, good. I'm not the only one today.
No. But well, my next pick actually ties in with Daniel's King of the Mountain, because I was thinking either King of the Mountain or this song, because Paul had a great he had a great knack of doing those lead off tracks from the album, so we really felt powerful and like you were King of the Hill. I've had enough. It's my pick because lyrically I think that's a bit stronger than King of the Mountain. How many times have they lied with the truth in their eyes, treat you like dirt, wasting the days of our lives, and especially the other part, wishing and hoping won't get you nothing, praying and scheming, no time for dreaming. I've got the power. This is our now. You really feel like chest thumping that song, and you really feel alive when you listen to those lyrics on that track.
I really like that one. That's a good one.
It's a great pick. I was just gonna.
Unfortunately, they didn't give it a chance live. They just played a few gigs in England. But number 8 for me. Well, I'm not a religious guy, but if you talk about ancient religions like pagan religions or Norse mythology, I can get into it. And this is one of those, God of Thunder. I like that one. You got something about you. You got something I need. Daughter of Aphrodite, hear my words and take heed. It's like the perfect Gene song, even though Paul wrote it. They made some alternations to it, but I think it's the perfect demon song. They never topped this one. Unholy was pretty close, but it didn't go really over well live. They never were able to perform it live. But God of Thunder is perfect, and he kind of blended Nordic mythology with Greek mythology, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of a cool song.
Yeah, he just took mythology. I just never, when you think of the God of Thunder and everything that it's become, That's a good lyric. I mean, I never see God of Thunder. I don't understand how Paul ever wrote that, visualizing himself as the God of Thunder. I can't get that in my head, for his body language and his performing on stage. I mean, it's like David Bowie singing Slayer, and it just
No,
was never going to be something that worked.
well, God of Thunder, of course, Thunder represents rock and roll and loud music. So in my mind, it's totally understandable to see Paul being the God of Thunder too, but not in the way that Gene sang, but more thunder in the way of rock and roll and loud music, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see Paul actually perform the song and see how he kind of physically presents it, because it's just one of those weird songs. I mean, he wrote Gene's theme for him, basically. Go figure. Go figure. It would never have been Gene's theme without Bob Ezrin. So.
Oh, of course not. And it's funny because I talked to JR about the drumming. And some people say, "Oh, JR wanted to do a disco beat, but instead he picked it up from I believe it was Smoke on the Water or some Deep Purple song. Dun, 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 dun. He took that pattern on the drums to it, and not the disco pattern in his mind as well. At least that was quite interesting.
That's another one of my dreams. All of those rehearsals from '75. There are a couple of them on the vault. Absolutely perfect sound quality. I would love to hear all of that stuff that they recorded in that same quality. I thought JR did a great job on drums. It's not quite, it's no worse than Peter really at the time. JR was a drummer, so he knew how to put down a basic beat, which is more than good enough for what the sessions were.
Yeah, it told me, they never rehearsed the songs. They just did it in the studio because Peter was going on vacation and he refused to, not go on vacation. So, yeah.
All right, so we're back, and Daniel's tied up his children, and there'll be no more squeaks out of them today. In this country, you're not really allowed to duct tape children's mouths to keep them. But
let's see, number 7. This is such a great song. Oh my! I remember learning this on guitar when I was a kid. This is about someone who really has hit rock bottom, and that's not usual in a Kiss song. Writing about something about that topic, and it's "Cold Gin" by Ace Frehley. My heater's broke. I'm so tired. I need some fuel to build a fire. I mean, then you're really down and out. And I really love that lyric. Mostly because it's such, you never heard it in a Kiss lyric. I think it's, and then when you got to know how Ace was in the 70s, you understand where he got the idea from. He didn't have to look far, I mean, he had some problems, but that's a good lyric. That's a perfect,
Yeah, the lyrics paints a picture.
Even though I detest gin. And cold gin, is that really something you drink? I don't know.
You mean gin, not gin.
I like gin. I like gin, but I don't like gin.
No, gin is served at room temperature. So.
Yeah, but cold gin. I never got the cold gin part,
But then if your heater's broke, then your room temperature is chilly. So there you go. It all makes sense in the end. All right. My number 7 pick is the twin that I just talked about, and my other pick is 1,000,000 to 1. And I gave you the best life I ever had, but it wasn't enough. So if you think you're so smart, go play with my heart. When you walk out the door, you'll realize what you never did before. Love that lyric. Love the song. Love the sentiments. Again, I already mentioned it's the melancholy version of the breakup song. So he'd obviously. Made some progress in dealing with his feelings after Nowhere to Run. And then you get the same song rewritten again the following year. And now he's a little bit more just sad, not bitter. So there you go.
People seem to think that I Still Love You is about Donna Dixon, but it must be 1,000,000 to 1 that is about Donna Dixon because they broke up during the Creature of the Night tour. So apparently 1,000,000 to 1 must be about Donna Dixon, right?
Yeah, they might have been on, heading for a break during, when he's writing "I Still Love You." That might have been his begging.
What do you?
That might have been
Oh,
his
both.
his
Both.
begging song. You know,
Yeah.
please don't dump me for Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, that's terrible. Being dumped by Dan Aykroyd.
All right, my next pick is it's a very short lyric actually, but I always of course I enjoy it when artists are more private and personal in their lyrics, and with Kiss it's not that common. But in Gene's case, I think the very first song that you can actually read something into was "Man of Thousand Faces." And according to the Black Box tapes, that was supposed to be the title of his album before they all went, with just their names for the album title. Gene's was supposed to be called "Man of Thousand Faces," and the very short lyric is, "For years I lived inside my dreams. Somehow I made them real. It seems I made my own rules because I am a man of 1,000 faces." And that sounds very much like Gene's philosophy, and the first lyric that he wrote, expressing this philosophy.
Nice one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Daniel. Did you just open up another beer?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I just wish Carl opened up another beer. He's been sucking on the same one all the time. You need to put another one in. Well, number 6.
Number 7.
Or is it number 7? Okay, I'll have to go down there.
Well, we're going to have to keep a tight leash on you now for the rest of the show.
Yeah. Unholy. You remember Kiss had done some, not so good albums. Crazy Nights, Hot in the Shade, Following Trends. And they actually hit the jackpot with the first song off of Revenge, Unholy. I remember seeing the video on MTV Headbangers Ball, and I've been almost shocked at the way they looked and the way they sounded, but I liked it. And I liked the lyrics as well. I'm suicide and salvation, the omen to nation that you worship on all fours. Kind of this religious thing once again, Oh, I was created by man, I'm unholy. To me, it always seemed like it talked about religion and that it was created by man, myths to help us understand and behave. But in the end, it's not really true, It's too far-fetched to be true. Noah's Ark and all that. It's kind of crazy. So I always like that. So I loved the lyrics of that song. But then I listened to a few more tracks. Actually, I heard this song previously. God gave rock and roll to you. And the spoken lyrics to that one is really cringe-worthy. People who have been given a gift, who have been given a role, and this name is rock and roll. It's like a preacher, so it doesn't really fit the album. So I always
it's a Kiss religion.
Yeah,
Christianity.
Yeah, it's Christianity maybe.
Christianity.
Christianity, but it didn't really fit the album, and Unholy was a good lyric at least.
Unholy's got a ton of good lyrics, and I mean, even me, who has professed to not be a big fan of that album, I mean, there's one section in there I love, but you are the beast that calls me by my name. You send your children to war to serve bastards and whores. I love that song. And the other part, which I'm the Lord of the Flies, from the left hand of power comes the father of lies. It's just chock full of Vinnie Vincent's fingerprints are all over those lyrics to me. I would love for someone to ask him.
What do you think? Will anything happen from this Nashville convention, Julian? What do you think?
Yeah,
any collaboration?
I wouldn't be surprised if he picks up an acoustic. He did that in Atlanta. He certainly. I think if he was unrehearsed for Atlanta, then he's more rehearsed than Ace Frehley. So if he picks up an acoustic, he's not going to care if it's in 440 or drop or what. He's not going to care what the tuning is. He'll pick it up, Will Gene be able to remember the lyrics? They can have some fun with that, because obviously Ace and Gene have had some fun mocking each other for forgetting the lyrics of songs that they wrote. So, I would hope.
I tell Gene, just spend a weekend with Vin and write 2 songs. That'll be better than anything you've written for 20 years.
Gene may well have said, "Hey, rehearse, I Want to Live," which is that one that's on the vault, and it's pretty easy. I'm sure on acoustic. Yeah, we'll wait and hear. It's going to be happening very soon. All right, let's move on from there. My number 6 pick. Her love is a gun. Her love is a blade. Vicious, insane. She deals in pain.
Killer.
Speaking of Vinny, this is the one remaining song that I want to hear live.
That's
preferably by Kiss in makeup. And if not, the Gene Simmons band, I'm sure, would knock it out of the park. I love that. These are, again, they speak to me as being Vinny, and he's just got a way with words, and that whole song is just,
that's true.
The lyric, every time I just grin. I'm like, it's like my Beavis and Butthead Experience song.
I love that part, crack the whip.
Yeah.
That drum part. Speaking of lyrics, and I think that ties together with the lyrics. That I think it's a splash or something on the cymbals. It's great. All right. Well, I can stay with a theme about Gene expressing his inner self with Man of Thousand Faces. The next track, this was like 11 years later. He did another great lyric in my mind for the Hot in the Shade album. I think Hot in the Shade features some of Gene's best lyrics, actually. Not his best songs, but lyric-wise, he went away from the singing about his dick stuff. But Cadillac Dreams, I love that lyric. I mean, I could totally read into the Gene Simmons personality with the lyrics like "A stone cold reality came crashing down on me. Well, life was hard on me, but I still don't give a damn. And didn't have the time of day till this dream was born. You can't take that away. You can't take that away from me." I mean, he was singing about his upbringing, and he had a tough childhood. He was bullied. He came from a foreign country, didn't know the language, and so forth, and wanted to make it big and have those Cadillac dreams. So I always loved the lyrics to Cadillac Dreams.
Yeah,
I think that's a cool pick. I would never looked at that song because
Really?
No. It's such a bad song, but the lyrics might be good. I have to go and check the lyrics to that once again. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I was hovering over the songs on the album, thinking which one is he going to pick, which one is he going to pick. I was way wrong. I did not see that one coming. But that's some deep stuff.
That's deep. Yeah. Is it my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Number 5, I think it is.
Number 6. Number 6 for you.
It's number 6. Okay. I'll pick. Let's see if you get this one. I remember listening to this one. It was, as an album, it was great, but this song really stood out, and it's like a self-empowerment song, but you have a furious feel when you sing it. Sometimes you feel your boss is like, you don't like him or her, and they don't deliver the way you want, and you just want to take their place and show them how stuff is supposed to be done. And to me, a song that perfectly portrays this is War Machine. Strike down the one who leads me. I'm gonna take his place. And better watch out. I'm a fucking war machine. Sometimes you feel that when you're at work. This guy, he has no clue what he's doing. Put me in that place, and I'll show it. I'll show you how it's done. And I think War Machine is the perfect song for that feeling.
Nice. I just can't get the videos out of my head that they've used the last few tours whenever they play War Machine, those little robot minions. So.
No. What the hell is that all about? it was maybe cool 15 years ago.
Well, it's better than the cars they had in Detroit Rock City. That
Detroit City, yeah.
Yeah.
But couldn't they update the videos, motherfuckers? I mean,
yeah.
something new. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
Number 5. And I would love to say that this has always been one of my picks. It hasn't. It was only an interview that Tim did for the Odyssey book that really drew my attention to it. And when they spoke about it, I was like, holy crap, you're right. So, once upon a not yet, long ago someday, countless times we've met along the way.
This is Elder.
Absolutely.
Odyssey.
Yeah,
Odyssey.
Odyssey, exactly.
Oh, wow.
It was just, and it's not even written by Paul or Gene. It's just because of it being sung by them. I just find it an absolutely stunning lyric, little section right there that absolutely sums up everything that's wrong with that album. So it's just so un-Kiss, and it is un-Kiss. You know, it's Tony. So we'll move on. We'll quickly move on from the Elder. Thank you.
No, we won't, because I got actually plenty of songs from the Elder here. No, but actually I got. Yeah, on the Rose is my next pick, because speaking of the Elder, there are actually only 2 songs that make sense lyrically on that album, and that is Only You and Under the Rose, which actually, you know, makes you realize what's going on in the story. And Under the Rose, you know, have, you know, loneliness will haunt you. Will you sacrifice? Do you take the oath? Will you live your life under the rose? You know, which is of course the order. So I put Under the Rose and Only You into this list, because they are the only lyrics that make sense on that album, I believe. Now we can move away from the Elder.
What do you mean? Like a what? God, I can't even remember any lyrics right now. So all right, let's move on. Daniel, your number 5 pick.
I've had enough, but Carl has already said everything about that one. But I think it's a nice, self-empowering song, and it's a tremendous song. And I always thought they should have played it more live. Unfortunately, I think it would have worked out well, but I guess the English audiences didn't give it rightful reception, so they didn't continue. So that's my pick. I've had enough.
Well, at least we got a nice soundboard recording out of it. So
yeah,
there's some good bootlegs with it. All right, what number are we on? Number 4. And I'm switching out from the one that I had picked. I thought I'd go out today and take a swim today. It was real hot, and I just had to get away.
It's Fraley.
They spotted an unknown sub down in the bay. I don't care. I think go swimming anyway. You know, when I was getting into the band and going back through the catalog and catching up with all the albums that had been released before 1985, when I got to Unmasked, most of it I thought was absolute crap. I did not like it. It took a lot of time for some of the songs to grow on me. This is not one of them. I love that song, that lyric, just because of it. The absurdity, the inanity. It's stupid. It's absolutely idiotic, and I love it. It's fun and dumb and just good rock and roll, the whole song. But that lyric in itself, you know, it just absolutely makes no sense whatsoever in terms of any context whatsoever. It's pure ace.
Yeah, it's ace. But didn't he write something on one of his solo albums that was even worse or better? It depends on how you view it. She had a good look or something. She had a good ass, and I let her backstage or something. Isn't that one of Ace's songs?
You got a nice looking ass. You got a backstage pass and a nice looking ass from We Got You Rock.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. I think.
Yeah, but I believe Gene has also used that rhyme in a couple of songs with, you know, ass and backstage pass and whatever.
I think it was a cool.
Gene better be careful, or his backbone's going to slip.
Oh, yeah. Once again.
I have no idea what that means, but I'm from Sweden.
I have no idea what it means, and I'm not.
What the fuck is a backbone, Julian? Teach us.
I have no idea. It sounds very like something he picked up at a yoga exercise class or something.
Well, my next pick is actually, actually I was a bit wrong about The Elder, because there are more lyrics that tells the story of tells the story of the story, such as Just a Boy and so forth, and also A World Without Heroes, which is one of my favorite lyrics, and of course that was Lou Reed's work, most of it, and some say it's too cheesy. I believe Paul says it's too cheesy, but that's because he didn't write it, I think. But those things like A Bird Without Wings, A Bell That Never Rings, and so forth. I mean, they are simple and cheesy, but sometimes that are also clever at the same time. And I believe A World Without Heroes, the lyrics are clever in all its cheesiness.
They are.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's a thing of beauty. So, it's a winner.
Yeah, and it's also, the whole KISS ideology about, because, I mean, the lyrics defines so much why we love KISS. Because, what would a world without heroes / KISS be? We're all here talking about, KISS because we need a world with heroes.
But Carl, didn't you feel this when you were a kid? The KISS lyrics were simple. When you had English as a second language, you could actually understand them. But when you listened to other bands, it was kind of hard. You didn't have the
listening to Iron Maiden, you had to have a history.
Yeah, exactly. But you didn't understand. But KISS, you kind of got it at the first.
Yeah, but on the other hand, with KISS lyrics, it took me. I had to become an adult before I realized the lyrics to rise to it. What you actually was rising to, of course. We didn't think to me, but a rise to it, and all those songs like all those sexual innuendos. It took me. Yeah, I remember being a kid, and in Holland they had those chew bops, bubblegum record, small cards from 1980, and I got the Dynasty one back in the mid 80s when I was a kid, and the back cover had the lyrics to "Show No Something." And I asked my father to read it to me in bed. What does it mean? What does it mean when she says that she showed him things I'd never taught him in school? And then my father asked my father, what does "keep you coming" means? So, yeah, all those sexual innuendos.
I have a similar story. I remember telling my mom, my first two albums were Animalize and Asylum, and I always liked the two first songs of Animalize. I've Had Enough and Heaven's Fire were great. But the third one I never quite got. So I went to my mother and asked, "Burn, bitch, burn. What the hell does it mean?" And she said, "Brinn, häxa, brinn." That was kind of a good translation, and that means burn, witch, burn. So I thought that for 5 more years until I got the knowledge to understand what it is.
And that actually is the original title.
Is it?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I never heard that. Okay. But it took me until all night when okay, I realized what means. It wasn't such sexual innuendo.
That one I got that.
It was really a bang on the head. Means I can realize what means.
Yeah, I really think bands like Iron Maiden should be given awards for introducing. They're like a British ambassador, and who would know the Red and the Black, or Passchendaele, or the Trooper. He's waving around this British flag, dressed up in he's. They've educated the world on, a lot of history, not just, British, but okay, Danny, thank you.
Not sure about Iron Maiden. Yeah. We're at number 5, aren't we?
No, number 4.
I've lost numbers, but I have another one of these self-empowerment songs. I guess that's a theme that runs through the KISS catalog. And I guess it's one of the reasons why we like them. And this is one of the Creatures of the Night album once again. I guess Creatures of the Night are getting a lot of hits here. And this is Rock On. I want to be president. Two-fisted till the very end. And then we're not gonna take it, which Twisted Sister stole and made a great hit out of 2 years later. I don't really know if they stole it from this one, but I think great lyrics. And this is a song, we've heard it 1,000 times, so we kind of, fed up with it. But when you listen to this for the first time, it was really cool, and you felt like you want to go out and do something about stuff, So I think this is one of Gene's best ones, and I really enjoy this. Still, I'd like to see this one on the 2nd of June. We'll see if he plays this one in.
You want to see "I Love It Loud" with Gene Simmons solo band?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but
okay.
That's his only hit. Name another hit he has. Dr. Love. Okay, I can skip that one.
I mean, he you want him to play Rock and Roll Night too?
No, you're fucking crazy, man. No,
but
I love.
What about "Lick It Up" or "I Want You"?
Yeah.
Okay, I shouldn't have mentioned the.
Well,
Sorry.
you will probably get it. So there you go. It's been in the set, and it's one of those songs that I say I never want to hear again. And every time they play it, I'm like, oh yeah, enjoy it. So there you go. All right, my number 3 pick is "My Parents Think I'm Crazy and They Hate the Things I Do. I'm Stupid and I'm Lazy, and If They Only Knew." It's
Flaming Youth.
Yep.
Flaming Youth. Yeah.
Again, it's everything that KISS is about to me. It's having a good time, rebellion, finding yourself, etc., etc., etc. It doesn't have much to think about. It's like you don't understand me.
It's a good one.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. All right, my next pick is this lyrics is one of my favorites because it ties so well together with the feel of the music, and this song has a very a specific feel to it. So let's see if you get this. Lonely people looking for someone, lonely people going their way, lonely people looking for something, lonely people going their way. In New York, millionaires, lonely people with lonely stares. I'm not looking for love, and I'm lost in this night.
It's a soft song. Lonely people looking.
Yeah, Naked City. And of course, all the victims are turned to stone. No one is happy. They're all alone.
It's a good song.
In the night. It really tells the story of New York and being lonely, and it's cold, it's dark, and you're feeling alone, and it's socially it's you feel isolated, is what I'm trying to say. And the song has a very you feel isolated. Listen to the song, to the music, and then you got the lyrics, which fit so perfectly with the vibe of the song, of the music.
It's like living in a big city like Gothenburg or something. Feel lonely all the time, sitting in an apartment, no one cares about you. So I guess that's about it. Okay, it's my turn.
Number 3.
I think it is. Okay. Party. Party has always been a theme in KISS songs. And of course you got Rock and Roll Night, Party Every Day. But that's been done to death. So for fans, it doesn't do a lot. But they have others. And one of the best party tunes of all time, I would say, is Shout It Out Loud. You got to treat yourself like number 1. Don't let them tell you there's too much snow. They're too. Then you know that one. Don't let them tell you that it's too much snow. They're too
old to really realize.
They're too really
old to understand.
Understand.
God damn it! You're evicted from the KISS Army. They're too old to really understand. God damn it.
I'm logging out now.
Okay, but that's one of the best, party tunes. So shout it out loud to me.
It is,
Love it.
again, core anthem to the KISS Army. As much as I'm not a big fan of it, but, there you go. All right. Number 2. Get up and get your grandma out of here.
Yeah, dudes.
Pick up. Old Jim is working hard this year. These are the very... I can never remember which one I heard first, whether it was Deuce or Black Diamond. These are the first lyrics I ever heard of KISS. And to this day, they just resonate with me. It's just like the intent, what they're telling you to do, is kind of like, again, back to the whole core message of KISS to me. And forget everything else. Forget grandma. Forget all that baggage.
But Carl, what does deuce mean?
It's a tennis term, as Ace used to say.
Yeah, that's the first thing you got, but it can't be that. Is it the second hole? I don't know.
Well, well, it's interesting that Julian picked this one, because I have actually never figured out what this song is about.
And I guess that's me too. But I always liked it. But I've never really. Is it deuce? You've seen tennis deuce. You've heard someone. Sometimes when they go to the toilet, they say they make a deuce.
They dropped a deuce. Yeah.
They drop a deuce. And then you have, I don't know what it means, but I still like the song.
I always think it's he's worth a damn. He's worth something. He's a deuce, something worthwhile, something good. So that's, I don't know what the hell he means. This is a guy who obviously came from a very kind of messed up background. Holocaust survivors, non-English speaking, coming to America. It made up his own words. I mean, what is deuce? It's probably about the same as the it in See You Tonight. It's just a word. Something useful, something that rhymes.
Works.
Yeah. But one fun thing about Juice is I write columns in KISS Army Sweden's fanzine, Destroyer, the Destroyer fanzine, and one of my columns was about those Japanese sheet lyrics, and I think and I picked a lot of
Juice,
the fun stuff, and Juice. I remember Juice is particularly funny in Japanese. They are thinking and singing. Get up and get your growling out of here, which is quite interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know such a thing as growling vocals existed back in the 70s, but of course it means something different. But get up and get your growling out of here.
It doesn't really matter because it's the music,
Yeah. So how many left do we have?
Daniel's got 2, and you and I have 1 each.
Okay, my number 2. I think it's kind of interesting. We haven't picked a lot of the same songs, and this one hasn't been picked yet, and it's one of the early albums. And I always like it when Gene in Makeup sung songs that were kind of dark, creepy. And when you look at the lyrics, there weren't a lot of creepy lyrics, but there's one. Watching you.
Limping as I do.
Is it limping as I do? Some say it's living as you do.
Limping.
I'm not sure. But you don't really know what to do. And I'm standing here, not quite aware. And I'm trying to not to stare. And then at the end, he seems to have joined forces with the girl he's looking at. Everyone else is here watching us. So, there's something strange, there's something strange with this lyric. And I really enjoyed it when I heard it the first time. And still to this day, it's kind of strange. And yeah. I like it.
Sinister.
It's inspired by a Hitchcock movie, Rear View
Window.
Mirror, Rear Window, Rear View Window. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Swedish it's called Fönster mot gården.
Ja, det kallas den. Det är en jävla bra film.
Yeah, it's a terrific movie. Yeah.
And he's got a whole, back then he was writing a whole bunch of songs that kind of creepy, voyeuristic, spying on girls drinking at a water fountain in a park. Can't remember which song that was. I mean, so this is just right up there with it. All right, my final pick for today on my top 10 KISS lyrics of today, because obviously tomorrow I might have a completely different list. All right, and this is just, again, fun, dumb, rock and roll. I'm a dancer, a romancer. No, she's a dancer, a romancer. I'm a Capricorn, she's a Cancer. And it's just so corny. She saw my picture in a music magazine when she met me, said she'd get me, touched her hips, and told me that she let me. My 14-year-old self still loves that song for the same reasons. Number one, I am a Capricorn as well. So it's like, yeah, he's singing. I'm a Capricorn. So, so as a kid, I just loved it. And just the whole theme in there.
I like it as well. I had to look up cancer. I remember listening to that song. What the hell is a cancer? Because cancer in Swedish is, cancer, the sickness.
In English too, I believe.
Yeah.
Same, but yeah. bit of a giveaway with Capricorn.
Yeah, I had there were different meanings. Okay.
I just must say that I asked Paul about this lyric, and because him being a Capricorn, Capricorns are very stubborn and very driven and so forth. So I asked Paul, I started the question with, as you're singing "Come Along Me," you're a Capricorn, blah, blah. And he said, well, actually, I'm not a Capricorn. I'm on the cusp of, I think it's Aquarius or something. So he spoiled the whole question for me. And he's actually not a Capricorn because he's born on the 20th of January, and Capricorn is just the 19th of January or something like that. But anyway, my number one, it's also a Postana lyric from
number one
from the same album, actually, and it's a lyric that Paul has always been famous for the inner rhymings in his lyrics, which is, it's not easy to rhyme, and it's very difficult to have those inner rhymings within the lyrics. And that one lyric that is such cleverly put together is I'm feeling low, no place to go, and I'm thinking that I'm gonna scream, because the hotel all alone is not a rock and roll star's dream. He has all those rhymes going, within the same lines, so to speak, of room service, of course. My plane's delayed and I'm afraid they're gonna keep on waiting until 9. And a stewardess in a tight blue dress says, I got the time. It's very cleverly rhymed, that song, I think.
It is.
It is.
Good pick. What are we going to end up on? Dress to Kill as our final picks for today. Daniel, let's see.
I think I have number one left. I won't end up on Dress to Kill. I will make Lonnie happy, I think, because I have a pick from Revenge, number one. And it's one day this man in black said, listen, Jack, told me I was chosen to kiss the ring on his hand.
Yep. That's a
Which
good one.
Is it?
Thou shalt not.
Yeah. I think it's like the perfect anti-organized religious song written by Kiss, at least. And one of my favorites, I don't think it's a good song, but I think the lyrics are really good. It's not Calling Dr. Love or something like that, because this is a serious subject. Oh no, one of my kids are coming over here and crying.
She broke out of the tape.
The entire hard enough.
Going back to Revenge and the 80s, I think Gene got a lot of inspiration out of the fall of Jimmy Baker, one of those evangelists who used to be on TV in the States and was found with hookers and all that sort of thing. I think he loved it, especially after the kind of the Creatures of the Night through Crazy Nights tour, where there were religious protesters outside of KISS concerts in a lot of and there still are. I mean, the 2009 show I went to, there were protesters outside reminding us that our souls were going to burn in fires. And I was like, okay, good, it's a bit chilly tonight. So I think he took a lot of really good got a lot of good lyrics out of singing and writing about that hypocrisy as he perceived it. So, absolutely golden. Good pick, Daniel. All right. So that is our top 10, and that is the end of the show because this is a long one. I'm going to have to do some editing work. So what are your top 10 lyrics, everyone out there listening to us? What are some of the things that you really like? Obviously, Pot of Thunder are to be given a major shout out for being able to do one episode of their podcast on just one damn song. For me, it was just a stretch to come up with 10 lyrics to have this kind of discussion about. So very interesting. So wherever you listen to us, do chime in with your 10 picks. Tell us what you think of ours and what we talked about today. And if you're watching us on YouTube, do go over there and click like and subscribe and let us know what you think. So for now, from Carl, from Daniel, and myself, we thank you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.